So just a quick video today where I'm going to offer some general advice, but then I am going to ask for your help as to the concrete implementation of the advice. It's an area where I feel like I might be a little out of touch. And honestly, asking for help is very in keeping with today's topic. I think that people like us who enjoy making things often try to take on everything. We learn that makers are much less common than flakers. How many times have you tried to collaborate with someone and then they flake out on their part and you realize that you would have been much better off just doing everything on your own from the start? Or how many times have you used sweat equity to compensate for a lack of money to get something done? If you watched my series on self-publishing, then you'll know that I learned the basics of graphic design and web development just to avoid having to pay for those things when I didn't have the money to. And you'll also know that I eventually became a professional back-end web developer out of that. So it's always good to learn new skills. I'm never going to say that you shouldn't learn something. But then along with those two things, we just live in an extremely individualistic world. Community is drying up. We each sit inside our own tiny little curated bubble. Every third place is a store. Every interaction outside of our personal circles is transactional. And if you are an introvert and have social anxiety, like I do, then you'll find that the muscles that allow you to operate outside of that sort of paradigm can get weak, and you don't want to step out of it, regardless of if it's better for you or not. So once again, we get accustomed to relying on no one but ourselves. Another question that I'm going to ask that might seem completely irrelevant to the topic at hand is, did you notice that the quality of my video went up significantly? Maybe you didn't notice because for the last couple of months, I've used the webcam at my desk in a small picture in frame of myself while doing the self-publishing guide. And so you kind of lost the reference point. Or maybe you didn't notice because it's not as apparent as I thought it was, but I was feeling very self-conscious about the video quality that my phone was capable of producing. I imagined people clicking onto my videos because they liked the title and the thumbnail, and then seeing the amateurish film quality and not even sticking around long enough to hear what I had to say. So what happened was, in order to allay my first anxiety about the visual quality of my videos, I decided to get a new camera. This channel is going well. It will monetize soon, and it has prompted some writers to reach out to me to do editing work for them. And so in a way, the channel really has already monetized. And I actually have a second YouTube channel that is monetized, a board game channel. If any of you are into board games, hobbyist board games, I will put a link in the description so you can check it out if you want to. Like I said, it felt like it was time to really actually invest in YouTube. I knew that this would alleviate that anxiety over image quality, but I found it intimidating. So I had replaced one anxiety with another. I don't actually have any interest at all in the technical aspect of making videos. I like shooting off my ideas and rambling on camera, but I don't have any interest in cameras, in microphones, in lighting. And there is a lot to know. So for weeks after finishing my self-publishing guide, I was paralyzed. I knew it was time to upgrade. I'd done a little bit of research, but I couldn't force myself to become knowledgeable enough to feel comfortable pulling the trigger on the equipment that I had kind of settled on. Then the film director that I've been collaborating with, Nathan Crooker, reached out to me, just called me up to let me know kind of the status of our main screenplay that he's shopping around, and to just check in because it had been a little while since we had talked. We'd each been just doing our own thing. And I told him about this channel and about how I thought it was time to kind of step it up. Immediately, he said to send him the links of the equipment that I was considering, and he would take a look at it. Guys, he is a professional photographer, cinematographer, director. This is literally how he has made his living for decades. And it's not like this is unknown to me. I've been working with him for a couple of years at this point. So I sat there agonizing for like a month without taking a single step forward over a decision that he was able to provide good information about within like 10 minutes. He said, yeah, the camera looks good. That mic looks really good, but you don't need that lens. This one will work better for you. And by the way, it saved me $600. And I had never thought to ask. I never stopped and thought, who do I know who already has this expertise? It's not that I worried about bothering him. It never even dawned on me to ask for help because I am just so used to handling everything on my own. And I am willing to bet that a good portion of you fall into that same trap. So I mentioned that I put up a full playlist of a guide on how to self-publish. If you follow that guide from the beginning, you can take your manuscript all the way to ebook and trade paperback. Like, I cover every step, oftentimes in excruciating detail. But that's not always the best way to do things. I think I've described that making that series wasn't particularly pleasant for me. One of the things that did make it gratifying was the way that a lot of you said nice things in the comments about how it was useful to you, or you were imagining that it was going to be useful to you. And some of you even reached out and showed me what you've done with the guide. An author who I met because of this channel, VB Scott, we'd already been sending emails back and forth a bit, and he sent me a cover that he made using my guide. And that was so gratifying because it's a really good cover. And he said that he had the image that he wanted, but he was hesitating, thinking that he was going to have to spend a bunch of money for a graphic designer just to put the typography that he wanted on it. And instead, he was able to use my guide and do it pretty quickly. While he's been writing for a while, he's just kind of starting his social media presence, and I'm going to put some of his social media contact info in the description if you want to connect with him. Besides the cover, something that he said that stuck with me, because it just struck me as being very self-aware and smart, is that he was planning to learn how to do a couple of steps of the self-publishing tasks himself each time. And so learn incrementally and not get overwhelmed. And I think that's a really good way to go. One way that you can do that you can focus on the parts that you are more interested in, that you can get help when you need it, and advice when you need it from people who have a greater level of expertise than you do, is to join, or better yet, start your own small writing community and then lean on them. Something as complex and multifaceted as the writing and publishing journey is honestly too complex to face alone, at least for that to be the best way forward. One of the things that I think really helped launch my writing career was that early on, I hooked up with a group of hungry, adventurous, young horror writers back in the early days of Kindle self-publishing. We made a quarterly publication in which to publish our stories. We multiplied each other's audiences by being able to promote each other to our own audiences, and to be able to do so honestly, because we truly believed in each other and our writing abilities. And we were also able to shore up small gaps in each other's knowledge in the strange new world of self-publishing, where you can accomplish anything if you are willing to put in the work and gain the knowledge. Being able to trade areas of expertise is so beneficial. And the camaraderie, where you're rooting for each other and you know that you're not going it alone is invaluable. But as is illustrated from my example at the beginning of this video, even after you build your community, you still have to learn to ask for help. So what you need to do is find people who have genuine skill and drive. It might seem a bit cold, but you can't take just anyone into your inner circle. When people have flaked on you, is it because you found the best person to work with, or is it because you knew someone, they were a friend, and so you decided that it would be fun to do something with them? Too many people like the idea of being a writer more than they actually want to write. You have to find serious people to work with. Nathan Crooker reached out to me because he enjoyed my book, Bird in Kansas, and from the beginning, I could see how serious he was, how hardworking and how driven he was about making films, and also how willing he is to extend a helping hand, like at the slightest hint. And so whenever he needs help, I also don't hesitate. Most writers out there aren't at the same place as you. If you are too far ahead of the people in your inner circle, they are going to bog you down and you only have so much free time. They're just not going to be able to offer you as much as they're going to be able to take from you. And that imbalance eventually just doesn't work. Of course, on the other hand, if you ask in people who are too far ahead of you, then it's going to go the other way and you're not going to be able to offer them something commensurate with what you are asking of them. I don't know if I did this instinctively or if I just did this accidentally, but I was part of a large writing forum. I learned who was just there to promote themselves. I learned who was there to really get things done and connect with people. I learned who I got along with, who the hard workers were, and when the idea came to me of forming a little alliance, I already knew exactly who to ask. At the beginning, you're probably going to be the one putting in the initial work, doing the initial lift so that they can see the benefit before the strain is too much on them and they drop out. I was the one who made the covers and put together the quarterly little thing that we did. I set up the forum for us. But if you've chosen the right people, it's not going to take long before they're all in and the work gets delegated amongst everyone. And that's when you'll start to see things pay off. Just remember that as often as people have flaked out on you, they have also been flaked out on by people who kind of promised grand visions and then never delivered. Now, if you want to try to lure in people who are farther along in their writing journey, someone who might even be able to act as an editor for you, if you can find a good writer with an objective editor's brain, then you could reduce your need for an editor or maybe even get rid of it entirely, possibly, which is kind of one of the hardest things to avoid paying for in fiction. Then I would advise that you find something related. One of the things that everyone has to do, promotion, making good book covers, formatting manuscripts, and just like get really good at it so that you have something to offer that's as valuable as what you're asking. Then, and this sounds kind of funny, but you have to get used to asking for help. A few people have a really easy time with this. And they always manage to find the people who have a difficult time setting boundaries. And they ask for much more than they can give, and then they kind of poison the well for everyone else and make us all decide, okay, I'm not going to help anyone, and when I need help, I'm just going to have to pay for it or learn how to do it myself. I will say that I think that despite the fact that those people are the loudest, and so you've had the most experience with them, most people these days have trouble in the opposite direction. Most of us have the most trouble asking for help. We don't want to bother people. We feel awkward and like we're imposing. But just as human beings, we are meant to help each other. Being so isolated and independent is not natural, and it's honestly not healthy, even for someone as both introverted and contrary as I am. Having a really solid group, I think, offers 3 really big, obvious advantages and probably a ton of small ones. One is that it allows you to save money. Now, if you learn to do at least some of it on your own and trade services with people and help each other learn, then that can keep you in the game. Number two, helping others is one of the main keys to happiness. It sounds touchy-feely, but they've even done research that shows that it makes you live longer. So you can go ahead and selfishly help other people out. Like when you are really good at something and you're able to give somebody like the fruit of that expertise and they're so happy with it, like it feels really good. And it doesn't cost you as much as that other person gains. And number three, the biggest, is that the people who you go through this process with will become your friends. Remember I said that you want to find good people who you get along with, because the mistake that you probably made before was trying to collaborate with friends. Well, the thing is that the people who you collaborate with, who you go on this adventure with, are going to become your friends. That's great in its own right, but then they're also going to be in there to help keep you on your feet as you stagger along in this war of attrition. They're going to be there to check in on you. They're going to care if you keep writing. They're going to not want you to stop. They're going to see the potential that you have and that you could just be on the threshold of success and not see it. That sort of justification can help you feel less delusional as you put all of this work into, a big, grand dream. They will also just make you feel positive about being an author. Being around other people who are fighting towards the same thing makes you feel proud. But while I so casually said that I think that you should create a little writing community and then lean on them, this is where I have to ask for your help. I found my little group of writers at the Writers Cafe on Kindle boards so long ago that self-publishing was a totally new thing. So it was that board was filled with adventurous, like do-it-yourself sort of people, which I think made it a lot easier. There were definitely a lot of people there just to promote, but by hanging out and learning, I came across a lot of people who were really great, who I am still friends with on social media to this day. And I somehow found the people who were sticking it out, because it's been well over a decade at this point, and they're still going. Thing is, I don't know where to go today. All I see out there is noise, and I no longer have the patience or really the need to dig through all of it to get to the good stuff. Today, my writing community is here, so I guess I kind of did make a writing community. I get my camaraderie from talking to all of you in the comments. Please don't think that that means that I need to read each of your manuscripts. There are way too many of you, but I am definitely here to offer moral support. So if you want to help, please drop in the comments where you have been successful in finding serious writers who are interested in making real connections, not just, LinkedIn style connections. Who wants to find a genuine group of peers? Like, where can you find a genuine group of peers? What corner of the internet did you find writers who aren't just interested in trying to sell their books to other writers, just trying to sell their books? Was it on forums, social media, certain hashtags, maybe paid mastermind? I'll say that I actually am part of a good paid mastermind, but this channel kind of started taking off at the same time as I started it, so I haven't been able to fully take advantage of it. It's one for horror writers. The money seems to have kept out people who really aren't serious, even though it was a very small amount. Anyway, let everybody know. There are a bunch of kindred spirits in this community. I know this because I've been talking to you, and let's just try to help each other. So that's it for today. I'm J. Allen Riker, once again reminding you to write, read, and live.